I'm Clara Crockett, and you're welcome to my studio. My studio is in the upstairs of my house. I like to live and work and move those two together. So today I'm going to take you on a little tour of my studio. My artistic background is as a performance artist, and for the last 6 years I've been drawing. It's kind of taking a shift from working in a very public way to working in a very private way with a focus on paper instead of the focus on a public performance. So come on in to the first area where I like to begin almost all the work, whether I'm working in performance or drawing. One of the things that's important to me is the research that's involved in both performing and drawing. I've got my books, I've got my journals, I've got about 40 years of writing, 18 different journals. I've got my monitor if I want to document a video. And one of the things that was interesting to me when I started drawing, because I don't have any academic training in drawing, was that I had been drawing all along in my journals. And just a small drawing here that I did years ago was for a piece that I was doing where I removed my head, find a way of working, and then I replace it. Of course, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. How does a person move their head and put it back? But that's the kind of thing that you can explore in performance, and that's the kind of thing you can explore in drawing. I want to show you a photo of some of my performance work. One of the things that I was really interested in performance was the idea of taking an object, putting it on my body, and working with it. In this piece I've got this dual head, which I have strings attached to my arm, one arm here which would move the head this way, and another arm here which would move the head this way. And so by moving back and forth I could control not the head, but the head also controlled my body. And so I was real interested in what this image made, what we said about each other, what we said, and what we said about ourselves together. So I've always been working with this opposite, with this thing other than myself, and trying to find out where we came together. If I could show you some photos here I love. And here's a lioness with her huge, sensuous body. I love this kind of sense of real beauty. And here's a lion who's playing a game with a gazelle, and you know who's going to win. And I love the humor involved in this. This is 3000 BC, and this is 1200 BC. So we're talking about these elements of the wild and the tame in relating to human beings that are still with us today. And I like that idea of combining humor and drama. And that's one of the things that I like to think about in my drawings. Come on with me. We'll walk over here. And the other thing that my work has been exploring is the philosophy of puppetry. And one of the things that puppetry does is really open up the discovery or the study of what is the nature of being, what happens when something starts to become something that maybe we haven't, let's turn a light on here, something that we think of as not alive, but through our movement or our focus becomes alive because it's moving. What makes it move? Yes, my hand does, but there's some sort of belief system in there that's hard to explain. It's sort of like magic. I like, in using this puppet, I like the fact that my hand is not covered up, that you can see my hand as a part of her body as well as she is a part of mine. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about in the other and myself. whoops, this is broken, it's got to be fixed. So I'm still working with those ideas, but now I'm shifting back in the past 6 years, working with drawing, and the drawings really just came right out of the journals. They're very private, very focused pieces. So I'd like to kind of talk a little bit, maybe actually show you what I'm working on. One of the things that happened with puppetry was that I never felt like I could tell a story. I was more interested in the image than I was in telling a story. So I didn't think that I had any stories. And when I started drawing, I realized that I had amazing amounts of stories that were just waiting. All I had to do was sit and look at the blank piece of paper and then start to compose something. And I realized that the stories were visual stories, that I wasn't telling a story with words, I was telling a visual story, and that it was about the moment before. As you can see, these two people they're leaping through space, but it's almost like it's before, or it's a moment during this leap when it's absolutely still. I think the miniature forces or compels you to look inside, which compresses the space, and so we're very much aware of what's inside and then what's outside, so it almost takes on a stage-like presence. One of the things that I'm working on in this drawing is bringing this creature up here, which I think is just barely formed. One of the things that I do when I draw is to barely make the line visible, and then work on bringing it back up. I will work on it in relationship to this figure. I think that the important part of this figure is the focus here is on her face, and I don't want to make something happen that will take away from that focus. I worked a long time on this leg, and all of a sudden the eraser, I just had to get rid of it. And when I got rid of it, I realized that there was a feeling of motion here by adding a couple of lines. And by getting rid of that, one could see her leg moving into his hip, and then his leg. And I love this kind of repetition of legs. I'm looking at always what this space does. I like that the ear of the dog is just so close, almost touching this heel, and that I want to kind of arrive at a feeling of that the dog is kind of struggling to get up, and and that the legs will interrupt this space. Even though I'm kind of moving in here lightly, I might in the future go back and erase some of these lines if they're not interesting. When you're dealing with the miniature, every single thing is important. So even if I find I'm making a mistake, I'll take this little brush. It's neurotic. It can be so perfect, and in a way, I love that. I love that the space is so magical that everything is important. It's probably the one place in life that you can control anything. Not having any background in drawing, I just have to kind of trust some sense of what what might be there. Sometimes because I don't know how to do it, I will find a whole new way of doing something. But that doesn't mean that I don't work hard and really have the expectations for myself that I want the drawing. I want the drawing to, I don't want, I'm not just throwing, I want it to have elements of good drawing. That's important to me. Now, this is a problem. This leg and this arm, how they're going to move together. Obviously, this leg has to have a little more weight to it. There's the question of how much to leave and how much. And then the eraser. If you're working on this, the eraser has to be clean, or else you'll leave this major mark. What to erase, what to leave. Sometimes I think the drawing's too clean, and I'm working a little bit on. Sometimes I like to loosen that up. I want to show you this drawing that's done. One of the things that really excited me about this drawing was finally realizing that I needed to make this character which grows out of his back. At first it was just sitting on top of here, and I wanted to make it just feel like it was moving out of his skin, and in essence it became one. The two become one, and of course the tension, I think, is in this space and what they're saying. I really don't have a specific idea about what's happening. I like the idea that it's ambiguous, that anything could be happening here. To a certain degree, it's refined to a certain. We've got we can say certain facts, that he's getting his heel bit, but obviously his tension is over here. These two are confronting one another. This might be very vulnerable. It's kind of sitting. The dog is sitting in a real human kind of position, and counteracting this. Something's going on here, and he doesn't necessarily have more power than this one. And I like that relationship. And something's going on here, but sort of different sides of each other. Here's another drawing that these are recent drawings. I keep them close by as I'm working on this one, because I happen to really like these drawings, and so I feel like I'm pushing the drawing that I'm working on to have kind of an equal sensibility as these drawings have. In this, if you notice I like to use a naked body, and I think that's just because the sensuality of our bodies is so beautiful, and it offers so much possibilities for seeing. I'm not interested in any social or age-related kind of themes or content. I'm interested in making an authentic moment happen in something that we can actually feel, that we can almost touch, and that happens through my own touch and through my own focus. In this drawing, as you can see, this space is, I think, a key to the drawing. As a matter of fact, I don't even like a drawing if the space isn't interesting. And here we have the dog has been called a wolf, a rat, a dog, is moving, and it could be moving past these two figures, or it could almost, it's almost like there's here. Now, will the dog be lighter, or what parts should be darker? And it will have some kind of reference to what I see up here with this, with her foot that kind of moves into there, into his hip again. Maybe this space needs to also speak to bring this out more, this relationship. Since I've been drawing, I tend to write less in my journal, and I feel like the drawing is almost is my way of thinking about where I am in the world and my relationship to the world, and both of us together. I need this. I need somehow to work in a way that and I think maybe, I don't know. Let's try something a little bit darker, maybe. I'm looking for interesting lines, but I don't want I'm getting a lot of liney stuff in here that I don't like. And I might just reduce it down and go back to kind of, in a way, almost erasing the line by filling it. By moving it, kind of moving it over. This is somehow I want more of a, I could work on this guy for a week. So, what I'm seeing here is that this leg is going up, and it's going up into this kind of indentation of her knee, and I like that. That it's meeting that. It's also kind of a bit frantic. I want a little bit of that sense. kind of a frantic sensibility, trying to get up but can't get up. I'm going to show you something I love. Is this, and I don't use necessarily this African dog. I don't African wild dog. And one of the amazing things about this dog is that when the pups are feeding on a kill that they have, all the adult members will stand back and let the dog eat whatever they need, and they won't intrude on the dog until they're finished, absolutely finished, or saturated with food. So it's amazing, and we think we're the tame ones. So back here to our dog. This is a nice little tool, but using it too much gets the line gets real mushy. I'm not interested in mush. I really do want some kind of clarity. I want to get a feeling now more of the volume of this leg, and this does help do that, where the body kind of moves in a little more rounded. This, however, is difficult to erase, so I don't want to do too much of it at this point. Just kind of turning around, you get this. This doesn't look too good. There's no, I'm not sure. Maybe this needs to cut off a little bit. If I'm really having problems seeing something, I might go to a dog encyclopedia just to look at the anatomy of a dog. But I think people, I always just work on them, and sometimes hands, really hard to do. And in this case, I've kind of left them because I didn't know if I really needed to focus in on those. I'm still not sure. It feels like that's finished, and this line here for his arm just feels like it comes, it's just natural, it's there. I'm not going to mess with it, I'm not going to bring it out. This is his second arm. I'm not really interested in everything being realistic. I think that the body, because I use a body that's representational, that we can identify with, I think that brings us into the drawing, that we don't need to, I think it should be sharper, because I'm starting to want a line that, this is a great tool, I'm starting to want a line that will be real fine, like these lines in here, that just at one point just give a touch or a feel, or the roundedness, just actually emphasize. So this little board here can get that real sharp. It's tedious, but you know what? I don't mind. I really love. I can spend all afternoon or evening just working on these small things. And what you see now is this figure is pretty much being brought up all the same. It's kind of uninteresting to me in that I need to go back in and think about what needs to be there and what doesn't, because everything has the same weight. Everything in here is nothing varies. So I don't think this is very interesting in contrast to what you see here, where there's the lights and the darks and the disappearing almost. And so that's kind of where the problem is with the drawing right now, is to try to find how this guy is going to fit in with everybody else. What parts are going to be more and what parts are going to be less. Sharpening and taking away. So to me, the eraser is as important as the pencil. somehow. I keep wanting to bring that tail up, and I'm not sure. It just seems like it needs to complete this circle right in here. Let's try it. Oh, that's too small. To be careful when you blow on it, because you could bring disaster to it. I don't know. We'll see. I think it has to become more out of the bottom there. Yeah. It's hard to bring a face up because there's so much is said there in such a small space. Sometimes it's almost like breathing on something will change what it is. It's so light. Now this space is going to be important in how it's already starting to come out. As this goes in, so does this go in. So they're kind of mimicking one another. This shape here is almost the shape in here. Those are the kinds of things that I'm looking for. As this goes around, comes around the ear and comes back up. I love that sense. And how this shape in here. So I'm looking at, but I like this. I like this shape right in here. Now what happens in this right here is going to be telling. Maybe this lake has to come out more. I don't know. It's kind of like to go back and you have to put your head in there and think, okay, what do dogs' feet look like? I mean, they've got those little pads, they've got those little claws, and how is it going to look when it's, you know, in the front? And now I'm kind of wanting to put a line into her a little bit. But be careful, because I like everything that's going on with her. And what are the indentations, the shadows, and how does this not become a line but become a, you know, an attachment of the leg to the. think things are coming. See, this nice movement here allowed all this to happen. Nice big thigh here. Yeah, I want this dog to be real volumed. And I like that it's bigger than the folks. It's trying to keep a sense of that effort to get up. I hope that that'll be there. I don't know if I can convey that or not. This whole, it feels good to make a line that's that works. It really does. It's like, yes, that's coming. Oh. Actually, what's happening now, I think, is that the dog is going to have, maybe the focus is going to be on the dog and her face. And so, we'll see. I don't like that little swirly thing. It's like it's out of control in a bad way. There's sometimes when I don't feel that I need to finish something, like I may not need to finish the end of this foot, because then it's going to take your focus on this foot way out to the end. I kind of like the fact that it's suggested that it's not completed yet. I may want to finish this simply because it is in such focus because of the space. So there will be things that I will make a conscious decision that I don't want to finish that, and it will be because there's too much focus on that and not on what I think would be the important parts of a drawing. Maybe more strain in here of an effort to get up. I'm not exactly sure how to communicate that. Well, I think I'm gonna hold off here and take you on a tour to some of the most recent work that I'm doing. Now we're over here with the recent work that I'm just beginning. I'm just going to show you a touch of it because I don't know where this stuff is going either. I have no blueprint. But for me, it's almost as though these little figures have come right out of the drawings, and I've been looking at them as their own little worlds, and now I find I'm back into thinking about performing and thinking, why can't I go into their world? And this, in a way, I'm entering the drawing. I'm thinking that I might be not a performer, but more like an activator, like I could shift the focus of things. I could bring light in. I could play with, maybe play with things like use some some kind of line and form and sound, and moving this little guy here that has paper mache, but a clay head and articulated joints. In some way, I can make these guys come alive. This one with moving head moving, but somewhat of a static image that I can make her move and even move along using light and shadow. And like these little guys here, they're definitely having some sort of dialogue. He's got his tongue stuck out, and she's totally articulated, and I've done things about thinking about her just moving in my hand, and even thinking about a video like that where she really delicate, and maybe something that would point up the smallness of her, but she is a marionette, and is actually ready to take on some of her duties as a mover, but where and how, I really don't know yet. I think of myself as maybe sitting down at the table and entering into, like, here I am, I'm their size. What I'm going to do, I'm not sure. But I also love the idea that I could make them move. Look at this guy. Look how he goes up there. And these little guys come along almost like I'm in a... So pretty interesting. How can they move? How can I bring them, how can I bring myself and them into some kind of dialogue? These guys, maybe I can direct the light just on them at a certain moment of time. There's a sort of a threatening position here. What's she doing, and how? Look at how she starts to become something. And this guy over here who's contemplating the rock, what's his job in life? And so I'm kind of just playing with these things and not really knowing where I'm going to go with it. But I suppose that though this is a part of my exploration and my thoughts and what I'm thinking now, drawing to me is still and will always be rooted in how I think about myself and how I understand myself and the world around me. Okay, guys, what are you going to do?